Hate crime is high profile now, but what do sociologists mean by hate crime?
Hate crime is a generic, kind of like an umbrella term, if you like, that refers to a range of crimes that are targeted against an individual's identity, be it their ethnicity, their faith, their sexuality, or a disability that they may have. So if you like, it's an umbrella term that's used to describe crimes that are racist or religiously motivated, homophobic or disabled.
The idea of hate crime emerged in Britain in the 1990s with several high-profile incidents, such as the murder of Stephen Lawrence in 1993, the nail bombings in London by David Copeland, and the homophobic murder of Jodie Dabrowski on Clapham Common in 2005. But hate crime encompasses a lot more than these high-profile cases and can include things like verbal abuse, bullying, threats, damage to property and things pushed through letterboxes. And while these may seem trivial, victimization on a regular basis can damage and even destroy lives. Fiona Pilkington and her daughter Francesca, who had severe learning difficulties, suffered years of bullying and abuse from youths at their home in Barwell, Leicestershire. 33 calls to the police over several years, but no response. Finally, unable to take any more, Fiona set light to her car as she and her daughter sat inside. So how much hate crime is there?
A lot of people are very reluctant to come forward and report their experiences of harassment and abuse to the police. When it comes to the more serious types of offence, people are fairly willing to report incidents, and incidents get recorded. So when it's the acts of violence, the murders, the burglaries, the robberies, very easy to quantify. When it comes to lower level abuse and forms of prejudice, it's very difficult to actually count these because they're acts occurring over time and space and people don't report them. In terms of what we do know, we know that according to recent figures, in terms of racist incidents, there were around, I think, 59,000 incidents recorded by the police last year, which is a worryingly high figure. When we look at the British Crime Survey figures, which in some ways paint a more accurate reflection on the numbers of incidents taking place, we know that there were around 140,000 incidents noted by the British Crime Survey, a startlingly higher figure when it comes to racist incidents. With the other types of offence, unfortunately the figures aren't particularly revealing, and so we don't know a great deal about them. But I think the data certainly on racist incidents is something that we are a little bit more reliable than the other figures.
In looking at hate crime and who commits it, it's important to distinguish between real-life research and the crude stereotypes in the media.
The whole subject of hate crime is incredibly complex, and an area that really sums that up is the perpetration of hate crime. There is this assumption, this stereotype, that hate crimes are committed by white extremists against minority groups, and that simply isn't the case. When we actually look at the bigger picture, we can see that there are tensions between different minority ethnic groups, and some of the most significant problems in this local area are tensions between Caribbean communities and South Asian groups. There are tensions within South Asian groups themselves. There can be interreligious tensions as well, so tensions between different faith groups as well as different ethnic groups. There can also be tensions between different types of minority groups. So one of the things that I've uncovered in previous research has been some degree of resentment amongst minority ethnic groups towards a gay community. So from a hate crime scholar's point of view, it's fascinating to see that this broader body of victims, if we like, people who are marginalised and subordinated within society, can have tensions within them, and you can have hate crime victim pitted against hate crime victim. That makes it all the more complex and all the more fascinating for scholarship, I think.
So hate crimes are crimes committed against people primarily because of their identity, who they are. Victims tend to come from stigmatised and marginalised groups, and media stereotypes of hate crime are misleading. Perpetrators come from a wide sector of the population. So if you come across any forms of hate crime in your school or your community, if so, how did it affect you? And what theories and concepts from sociology do you think can best help us make sense of hate crime?